You've been saving up for a major home upgrade, but before you write that check, watch this. If you're a homeowner in Maryland wondering which upgrades are actually worth it, you're in the right place. Today we're breaking down 4 popular property features and what they really do to your home's value. It's something that comes up often in conversation. Swimming pool. This one might actually surprise you. So contrary to what you think, in Baltimore and Carroll counties, pools absolutely add value. Here's what I did. I ran 2 searches, one for smaller homes, 1,500 to 2,500 square feet on 1 to 10 acres that have closed since January 2024, so the last 2 years, and one for larger homes, 2,500 to 4,000 square feet on also 1 to 10 acres that have sold in that same time. Homes with pools sold for 14% more in the smaller homes and 10% more with the larger homes. Also, it's worth noting, both sets with pools sold faster. Smaller homes 20% faster and bigger homes 44% less time on the market. Here's the thing. Buyers price in the hassle, but the hassle as a pool owner isn't that much of a hassle as you've been led to believe. Buyers automatically start factoring in chemicals, maintenance, insurance, fencing requirements, which if it's already an existing pool has a fence because that's code, and liability. So they're already baking that in. Here's another thing. The pandemic actually changed the game. So using the same parameters, I went back and did this research and looked at the 2 years before the pandemic. And smaller and larger homes both still sold for more with pools, but only 6% more, not the 10 and 14% more that we saw after the pandemic the last 2 years. Here's a rule of thumb when it comes to pools. Don't build one just to add value, although it will. Build it because you'll use it and you'll love it. And treat any value bump as a bonus, not a strategy. I can tell you as a pool owner, the intrinsic value of having it and the memories that came with it far outweigh the cost, even though it has helped property value. Here's a second one, finished basements. This is the one upgrade that almost always pencils out and almost all people underestimate it. Anytime you can add more square footage, it's going to increase value undoubtedly. So here's the research I'd found. Finishing a basement in the central Maryland area, mostly Baltimore and Carroll County, typically returns 70 to 75% of the cost when you resale. One of the strongest returns of any home improvement. Again, anytime you finish and create more living square footage, that's real money. Also, according to my research, which is slightly flawed because it's dependent on the accuracy of the listing entry in the MLS, so I'm subject to some subjective parts of the listing, but properties with partially or fully finished basements sell for 10% more than houses labeled as having unfinished basements. Here's the deal. Square footage is absolutely currency. In Baltimore and Carroll County markets, above grade square footage gets appraised higher, but finished basement space still dramatically increases perceived value and buyer appeal, especially for families who need the room to grow. And function drives value. So a finished basement is almost always going to be functional for everyone. It solves a problem. You can have a home office, an in-law suite, a playroom, gym, an added living space like a rec room. It just adds more value than generic bonus space. So be intentional about the layout. Permits matter more than you think. So unpermitted finished basements are a red flag at closing and could potentially create red flags during the potential transaction, especially if there's issues that come up in inspections. So pull the permits, just do it right. Third one, additional acreage. I always hear about this one. This one also might surprise you, but in the other direction. So more land sounds like more value, and it usually is, but the math isn't always what you'd expect. All right, here's the research I did on this. So I took homes with the same square footage, and on average, homes on 1 to 2 acres sold for 16% more than homes of the same size on less than an acre. Homes between 2 and 3 acres sold for 1.7% more than the homes with 1 to 2 acres. So not that much more. There's diminishing returns. Homes with 3 to 5 acres sold 3.3% more than homes with 2 to 3 acres. And then homes of 5 to 10 acres, you're getting into farmette territory, sold for 6% more than homes with 3 to 5 acres. So there's this rural versus suburban math. It's a little different. In Carroll County, extra acreage, especially if it's buildable, subdividable, or farmland adjacent, can significantly increase value. In suburban Baltimore County, a larger lot could have diminishing returns past a certain point. And so buyer psychology in each market, absolutely part of this. So Baltimore County home buyers and a lot of other areas that are more transient often want the space, but not always the work that comes along with it. But Carroll County buyers, where it's less transient, are a little more land oriented. They want the privacy. They want the room for outbuildings, animals, gardens, pools. So know the buyer before you price the land. Know your area. Another thing with acreage, land doesn't depreciate the way that improvements do. So unlike other improvements that weather, go out of style, more dirt holds its value quietly over time, making it one of the more stable long-term equity builders on this list. Last one, adding full bathrooms. So if I could only tell you one upgrade that almost always pays off, this is the one, especially for the cost. Here's the deal. The research behind it is I took the same size houses, homes of the same size with one full bath sold for $416,000 on average, 2 full baths sold for $612,000, and then 3 baths sold for $689,000, so 12 to 13% more than the 2 full baths. The numbers are hard to argue here, so adding a full bath can increase a home's value by 10 to 20%. Again, it comes down to a question of functionality. More bathrooms are going to appeal to more people and growing families. So going from 1 bathroom to 2 is especially powerful because it moves your home into a completely different buyer category. No liability, no maintenance premium, no seasonal limits. So unlike a pool or additional acreage, a bathroom doesn't come with these ongoing costs, maintenance things, maintenance for the additional yard to scare buyers. It's just pure function. And function has universal appeal. Location within the home matters. A full bath in a primary bedroom is going to hit differently than a basement bathroom. If your primary bedroom doesn't have an ensuite, that's the most strategic starting point if your space allows for it. Buyers will pay a premium for that kind of privacy. Here's what I want you to take away from this. Not every upgrade is created equal, and you might be surprised as to what improves the value of your home and what doesn't, and the market you're in, whether that's Baltimore County or Carroll County or another county in Maryland or Southern Pennsylvania. That could change the math. So hang on to this if you're considering a major improvement and before you spend $1. Connect with me and I'll gladly help do the recon and the impact it may or may not have. What other improvements are you thinking about that I could help you establish the value it actually adds? Reply to this email with your address and what you're thinking about, and I'll tell you if that upgrade would move the needle for your home.